Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Wow. This has been a interesting week, definitely to say the least. And there's a lot going on, from nationals completing to me organizing my teams for Origins and all sorts of stuff, and then even more so just trying to figure out what the next steps of the meta is going to be. I guess for me, the conundrum that I've been facing recently is, what do you talk about because people need to know about it, and what you don't talk about because either someone you are competing with, or you're someone who you know, or whatever is competing with that tech. And so it's been a ethical struggle, so to speak. And one thing that sort of came about, me more thinking about this for this entry point, is I'm in a Facebook chat with a lot of well-known heroclix players, and I thought when I was invited, like, wow, here is a chance for me to learn. I know I can try to contribute, but I have started to notice that my commentating opinion and a lot of high-level players' opinions differ greatly. Definitely when everybody said, well, Super Skrull's dead, then Super Skrull wins a rock. And I'm, in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't think he's dead yet. But I'm willing to accept that there's, another opinion. Just people that have more, tournament experience than I do. And they have a whole group of other people that look at, different numbers, factors, and whatever else. Because of that, I thought, you know what? I'm in this chat. I'm going to sit back and listen. And what sort of surprised me was how little heroclix play or conversation that went on. I mean, well, not necessarily play, but just conversation about heroclix that went on. And so, I just brought it up. I'm like, no one talks about teams. No one talks about, how things are put together, or, even analysis. And they just said, really, did you expect us to talk about, serious teams on here, going into pretty much like con season and going into, major tournaments. And, no one really posts teams on here. And so I sat back and I thought about it. And I really thought about it, that the state in which we are in now is a little bit rough, because the information gate is blown wide open. You have major teams putting out podcasts. You have the Quarry. You have Dial H, you have Clicks TV, you have 2 Clicks for KO from KO, you have Married with Clicks, you have a lot, you have a plethora of information regarding teams and analysis. And so every little secret, every little tiny ruling, jab that you can get in to be a surprise over an opponent for a tournament, it matters a lot more, because once that surprise is done, then you have to deal with the ramifications thereof. And even then, your surprise might be hidden by the field of play. So let's say you do something that's really insane. You might actually, just find like your 2 worst matchups back to back, and so you don't break. Or you might end up in a situation in which, people, you don't break, but everybody talks about your team, and then it goes online, and then somebody else wins with your team, or people start putting in little stuff that would counter your team, or at least make it a lot difficult for your team to run. And so when we start looking at the cost of clicks and the difficulty of playing, and when you get to the top 16, really, you get to the top 16 of a rock or the top 32 of a tournament, you're not playing, the grinder feeder guys. The people who are like, well, let me build my team so I could be the world champion. You're not playing those guys. You're playing the people that drop ducats on the game. You're playing people that spend hours looking at the game and figures and trying to crack stuff. You're talking about the guy that spent his last month of life playtesting. Okay. There is no way that you can just walk into that situation and say like, oh, hey, I have this thing that I've made on a whim, or I have this piece of tech that everybody and their mother knows about. And I mean, if you do, such as, when we had the Ghost Rider tech, you could try to build against it, but the Ghost Rider tech was so insane that everybody just fielded Ghost Rider. So I don't know. That's just what I'm dealing with. There's things, and there's things that I want to go into, and things that I want to point out. But then there's these violations of confidences that come up from either private conversations or things that I know some people are legitimately thinking about. So that's just where I'm at. And so it becomes a little frustrating. And I think that's where the point when a commentator is a player as well, and in a format like this. In basketball, you can't have Charles Barkley or, who else was it? Well, yeah, I'll just give Charles Barkley, for example, because I can't think of anybody else. The game of basketball doesn't change. The rules of it, change, but like the actual scoring mechanisms, it doesn't change. The foundations of heroclix and its incongruent wording, it does change. From it's almost like you're talking to people about a constitutional document about the power of intent. Like that is something that you don't deal with in basketball. The intent of the rule. It's like the rule says it or the rule doesn't. Okay. And so with all these things stacking up, every little trick and every little rules lowering is necessary. So, all right. So let's get into today's show. And today's show is going to be about Nationals Tech, and it's not going to be like team breakdown, but it's more about your thoughts going forward from now on, at least until retirement. Okay. So first off, I'm going to throw some ideas out here, some of which I believe are really strong and some of which I believe are threats. They're not necessarily, super strong, but they're threats. I'm going to also just sort of point out that the meta that we are now entering is not a shenanigans meta. Okay. Some people might say, well, we had all this shenanigans stuff. Yes, we still have the can't use and all that other stuff. But the can't use strength is not as strong as the defensive options that are there. And let me explain why. Okay. I run Gluttony and I run Dupe. And I run the Orange Lantern battery. What do I counter? Well, I can counter sidestep and I can counter all the little powers that Gluttony has if I face a Gluttony. If I don't face a Gluttony, what can I realistically counter? Whatever powers are granted to me by the belt. I mean, not by the belt, by the Orange Lantern Battery. Flight on dupe, running shot because of dupe, whatever I have on my entities. Okay, that's it. That's it. Okay. Now my opponent has Orange Lantern Battery and they're running, let's say, an Avengers theme team. Can they counter anything on Gluttony? No. Can they counter anything on dupe? No. Can they stop anything that Gluttony and dupe are doing? Not really. Not really. Maybe shut off a power that their entities could use, but they'll just pick a different power. So functionally, does the Orange Lantern Battery solve for Gluttony and dupe, which is by chance the world championship? I mean, the national championship team. The answer is no. Okay. Next up, if you look at Zombie Team Base, and we'll just say, ignoring the final round, because that guy, he got crushed by stress, because it's obvious you just need to take off Zombie, Super Scroll, and Electro, and not the freaking Baby Scroll. Like, come on, homie. Like, it's that clean. Like, you don't even need to think about it. But it also lets me know, if you watch the final round of Nationals, stress will get to people, but if he was playing his team base like that the whole entire time, then he doesn't know how to run team bases. And that's not an insult, it's the truth, because if you can only pop off 300 points of figures, just period, the entire map, the entire time. And you should be, definitely when you're able to put figures on your base, you need to know what your pop-off combos are. If you don't, you have failed. Like, I know this having run multiple team bases for multiple serious events. Team bases are not a lazy man's mechanic anymore. You have to have a plan. Okay. Anyway, sort of coming back, reining it in. Okay. So you come to the Zombie Team Base. What happens? I'm able to bring out Super Scroll. Oh, there's a Green Lantern Battery. I don't need Super Scroll. I need this. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, okay, you're back to an Orange Lantern Battery. I play, this. Oh, you have a very slow team, and I, looks like I can maybe snipe something off. Pop off Magneto. Put up some walls. Well, break these walls. You're gonna have problems, son. What's up? So there's flexibility in that. And also the team base has, at 300, able to make 2 actions. So that's pretty cool as well. Here's the thing that comes back. If you try to say, oh, Zombie Team Base, you can't use special powers. Oh, well, I will just pop off Super Scroll, who will, rake you over the coals. I don't need Electro. I will hold off. And when things get a little silly or out of control, I'll bring him back on, and then I'll bring Super Scroll back on, and I'll pop off whoever else I need. Okay, so when you start like really looking at it, does an Orange Lantern Battery stop anything? No. Does Jenny stop anything? Not really. Okay. The Super Scroll team, the zombie mechanic on the team base allows it to just get more zombies out there, not necessarily, come back, which I'm really glad about. But once the zombies are on the field and they're swarming the field, what are you going to do? I mean, really, what are you going to do? So, we'll take it another step further. And we'll look at the Absorbing Man with the Rock of Eternity. All right, what are we playing again? We're playing a denial game. Oh, there's nothing on my resource for Lydia to take. Oh, guess what? I'm going to power up, and I'm going to live long enough to power up. Oh, yeah. You have any objects on the field? I can't place objects, but you have any objects on the field? Oh, you do? Because it's on your build sheet, you have to place them. Okay, I'm going to just walk over here, pick up these objects, and I'm going to have +2 to to range, and I'm going to have +2 to close combat, plus I'm going to have sidestep, plus I'm going to have the ability to potentially heal every turn if I do absolutely nothing. So I just sidestep across the board while, Dead Man does it, and I just power up this this Neo Infinity Gauntlet, and, if I get stupid, it's over. Or we roll off. Okay? So we can start to see that a flat out mindset of I play X characters, I silver bullet the whole field does not work. It does not work, because here's the other problem that I've encountered in my own sort of analysis trying to get ready for Worlds is this. Once you look at those top teams and their don't die mechanics and the don't die characters, and I'm just going to list off the current don't die characters. There could be more from the time you listen to this, but these are the current ones. At the top of the list, Dupe, because his thing is based on a trait, but it only reduces attacks. It doesn't stop like knockback damage and other stuff like that. So there's openings. Then right next to him is Gluttony, Resurrection Man, Absorbing Man, Dead Man, and then technically Zombie Mechanic. Okay. This is your class of 2015. I don't die. Okay. Now, you can get around. You can deal with Dupe. You can deal with. You can deal with Absorbing Man, and you can deal with Gluttony in the same way. You can shut off special powers. Boop. Okay, so if you're running an Orange Lantern battery, guess what? You also have to have an Absorbing Man, and you also have to have a Gluttony. If you fail to have either of those, guess what? You can not shut down those special powers directly using an Orange Lantern battery. You could if you had Jenny Sparks or Agent 13. Okay, so that's a bonus. So you might say well, Dark Logos. Well, Agent 13's cheap, so we should see a flood of Agent 13s on the field. Maybe not, because if the meta shifts towards Dupe Resurrection Man, what are you really going to do? Absolutely nothing, because you're shutting down powers, and you're only able to shut down powers that are on the base with Agent 13. And so if you're running up to, Resurrection Man, it doesn't do you any good. His dial's naked. You run up to Dupe, his defense dial is naked. It doesn't do you any good. So your Agent 13 is a gamble. Your Jenny Sparks is a gamble. Okay? But we also suffer from Attack of the Clones. So, hey, it might be legit. Okay? So, what are we looking at now? We have this plethora of don't die guys. They become really annoying. They force roll-offs, but they are highly defensive because they're getting supported by Anger's Hammer, by the entity, the White Lantern entity, that is, with healing mechanics. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if some guys I have a White Lantern battery. I am going to put a White Lantern token on there just so that they both get another freaking stop click. I would not be surprised. Okay. So all these elements, kick in. Okay. Then you have, Resurrection Man and Dead Man, where technically they don't die. Technically, they just stay where they're at, and they just, go on to their little countdown 1-2 clicks, and then however long it takes for them to get back, then they're back. And then with Resurrection Man, he just sucks up another 10 to 15 minutes of him picking his power combination. Okay, so when we look at the game, and we look at, all right, I have to now push forward. Me pushing forward means that I am not packing like 8 damage and then boom, blowing guys up. If the most common solution to the most problems is I play a guy, the most damage he can take is 2. 1 from getting hit and 1 from knockback. Then yeah, you're in a defensive meta. If you're in a offensive meta, if I shoot a guy with 8 damage and he's dead, almost any guy, they die, you're in an offensive meta. Or I have this trick, it screws over 90% of the field, then you're in a shenanigans meta. Okay, so it's real easy to tell when the cycle is shifted. And the cycle has shifted. I think, even in my own analysis, I think my mistake was I thought even to the point of Trinity War, that we were still in a shenanigans based meta, which we're in a shenanigan influence based meta. But actually looking at what can survive and what can really throw down, yeah, we're definitely in a defensive based meta. Now, with that, here is the risks that are coming through. The first risk that I was made aware of by an individual was that the Absorbing Man team that was running Rock of Eternity had a lot of roll-offs and won a lot of roll-offs. Just couldn't kill anything. Okay, so is the luck of the cards with you? If so, then you might want to look at a defensive team. But you also have to understand, with a defensive team, the inability to be offensive is a problem. The inability to be offensive is a problem. The other thing that is an issue is that most defensive teams aren't mobile. Okay, even when we're looking at the Silver Centurion tech, Silver Centurion is very defensive, but it's very mobile. At the same time, if you are able, and I'm speaking purely hypothetical, if you're able to catch Silver Centurion, or and to get right up on top of that Despotellis, you still have to hit a 20 with whatever attack value you have. And the odds may not be in your favor because most defensive pieces have very low attacks. Okay, so if you have any form of recovery, I mean any form of recovery, on on a Silver Centurion team, if you're able to get regen or healed up by your battery or whatever, then trying to blow through to get to Silver Centurion is very risky. And if you're dealing with him going through gluttony, he'll be like, I don't care about mystics, I'll eat that mystics, I just need to kill that dupe that's healing you. I'll focus on dupe, and I will just sit there and I'll take an attack or two here. You can't pulse wave me, you have to fight me, and if I run impervious, oh well, and then you have to force and exploit weakness, I just perplex down your damage. You're not going to hit me that hard. Okay, now I run and break away, and I go to my medic. And then I will just lead you by the nose and force you back. Now you might say, well, dupe will just roll regen. That's fine. But if dupe does not roll, super magical, and he only heals for 1, he's taking a token to do that. And if he does it rolls again and doesn't roll to get healing, he can be screwed. Like, don't think dupe is invincible with Anger's Hammer. It still is determined on die roll. It's not purely mechanical. Okay. Now the odds are in your favor that if you're hyper paranoid, that every time you take a click of damage you roll for regen. I can understand that. But you're also looking at, you have to roll a 3 or higher. So yeah, 2/3 of the time, just to make sure that you get some damage back, some healing back. All right, so another risk that you have to start looking at is, all right, what is consistent on all high point meta based teams. What is consistent? And the first question usually comes up once you start looking at trying to answer that is, when I compare everybody's teams, what can I actually deal with? So what is consistent? And then when you start trying to figure out that question, you end up raising the other question is how, how can I deal with it? And so this is the part where I'm becoming very vulnerable and pointing out something that I've been looking at. The main thing that I have determined in the last few weeks is this. The power plant, by far, is the strongest meta piece in the game. By far. With the shift that's happened. Here's why. Lydia is no longer guaranteed to win you a stall out run around the map game. She's not. Okay? If Super Scroll faced Gluttony and Dupe with Book of the Skull, and Super Scroll's like, yep, jacked your Anger's Hammer. Okay? Now Lydia has Anger's Hammer. What happens to Dupe? Ask yourself, realistically, what happens to Dupe? Do you pile in? Do you try to hurt Dupe? What happens? Now, you're stuck. Because let's just say we're running an Orange Lantern team. Okay? So, you're looking at a situation that Dupe has no way of healing himself. He can still get a +2 attack. That's not a problem. But every little bit of pick and roll that you do with Dupe onto Dupe is going to stick. And so one could say it's a matter of time, but here's the other issue. Dupe has a decent mobility, but he can't run. He can't just get out of there. He is stuck. He can get a decent distance, but he can't go really far. So again, you're looking at, all right, I am now up because I have scored 3 points for your relic. You have to come to me and fight me, or else the game is over. Okay? And this is the second part. I roll Disintegration Beam onto Super Scroll or Lydia or whatever, and I just do what I do. And if I roll a 10, 11, or a 12, that's 1/4 of your possible die roll combinations. And I know the odds are a lot higher than 1/4. So 25% chance of you getting one of those. Guess what? I've destroyed your resource. I've scored points. GG. Okay? So there's a problem. There's a grand problem that when you start looking at these defensive teams, that if you're saying, I don't want to play that jank, and I want to go out there and, fight, or I want to be crafty, then the power plant is your obvious solution. Okay. Now, yes, can the Orange Lantern battery still stop you from getting Psychic Blast or Energy Explosion or Barrier or Incap or any number of wonky powers from the battery? Yes. I mean, not from the battery, from the power plant. Yes, it can. But here is the huge but. You have to have pick a power, and you have to be a lot more creative once you start trying to fight a power plant. Because yes, there is a straightforward plan, quote unquote, that you can do. There are at least 4 to 5 high level meta teams that I've thought of with the power plant. And a couple of them have shown up at the Rocks, and one of them I've talked about notoriously about me facing that team last year at Gen Con. It's still a good team. Using the power plant in Avalanche. It just doesn't deal with the don't die tech stuff really well. Okay. But when you start looking at, hey, I'm running Lydia and Super Scroll again. While the Orange Lantern battery would allow me to just functionally take away anything that would allow you to be a threat to me, such as I take away Pulse Wave for on your guy, so you can't Pulse Wave me. So once I charge Flurry you, or sorry, I've charge Steel Energy you and eat your Mystics and take those damages, I'm getting food tokens. So I just need to make sure, like, oh, you Pulse Wave me? Okay, I just turn off Pulse Wave. All right, so now I can just go regen, and you won't be able to kill Super Scroll. Just like, okay, I just keep punching you, and oh, you hit me? I ate all those food tokens, now I'm back. I just still take off your hypersonics. I take off your Pulse Wave. And then you could just slug it out. And Super Scroll could just sit there, taking away Pulse Wave from dupe every turn. And just be like, nah, whatever. Now you would say, well, what happens when Gluttony hits? Well, that's a problem. And you also could say, like, I could run Shape Change as well, or Prob, and then Combat Reflexes. And just be like, oh, you had a decent attack. Now it's sort of gone. Or I could just Perplex down. Yeah, I can run Combat Reflexes, Shape Change. I have Scrolls. Or I can run Super Senses still because he can't get past Super Senses. I mean, there's tons of options. But sort of going back, you run Disintegration Beam. Boom. All your bases belong to us. All your base belong to us. And now a lot of players at that moment are disheartened. I know I was when that happened to me. Most people do not have a mindset in this day and age that they can rally without their resource. The resource is a comeback mechanic. It is an ignition. It is a stabilizer. It is a comeback mechanic. Some of them more comeback than others. If you look at the Infinity Gauntlet, it is a comeback mechanic. It has initialization in there. But once you start getting +1 and +2 stats, it's a comeback mechanic. It's trying to bring you back to the beginning of the game, while your opponent is not at that state. If you look at the utility belt, same thing. It allows you to have bursts of power, but it's sort of like you have these stop moments where it's like, this is where the initiative swings. When you look at the Batcave shuts a lot of stuff down, but it also gives you access to the Bat Belt, plus it gives you access to Alfred. Plus, if your whole entire team is wiped out, the Bat Computer starts nuking the field. Okay? The Bat Cave starts nuking the field. All right, and then, I mean, I can keep going on and on and on and on and on. But when you realize in most people's mind that they do not understand, and I would say definitely players that start playing in the last 2 years, how to come back from most major games once you've taken a major hit like losing your resources. A lot of people don't understand that. Okay, so there's problems there. And here's the other issue, that there's a problem. You've nuked their resource. It's completely destroyed. You have no reason to engage your opponent. You have every reason to do anything possible to slow them the heck down. But you have no reason whatsoever to try to engage them. And that's where the game gets tiring. Because between the free action smoke cloud and, tying them up because they don't fly, to just, the walls and changing terrain permanently if you have no action tokens. So you're just putting out smoke cloud and terrain, and it gets tiring. It really gets tiring. And it gets really frustrating. And what type of engagement is that? But anyway, going on. So you might say, well, hey, Dark Logos, doesn't this now mean that if I'm running this don't die jank, for me to dodge Lydia and to dodge all this other silliness, that I need to run Rock of Eternity so that I'm able to power up and then get on, board and jack with people? Yeah, but you still can't get past the disintegration beam. Well, then you might say, well, hey, Dark Logos, I'm running the power battery. Okay, I'm running power battery. I just don't assign constructs. I just have it sit in the back. That's fine. That's more than fine. But here's the thing. If I'm able to limit you like this, I've technically scored it. You're fighting with a 30 to, let's say like a 15 to 30 point handicap. All right. You might say, well, Dark Logos, I'll run a theme team to stop Lydia. That's fine. You can run a theme team to try to stop Lydia. But I'm going to guarantee you this. It better be better than +3. It has to be better than +3. And here's why. Letting another little thing out the bag. With all the stupid stuff that's coming out, Composite Superman by far is the dumbest. Because I can run Composite Superman, Black Hand, Lydia in a resource of my choice at veritable points. Okay? And all I have to do is this. I have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a permanent stop click on every click due to the characters I select. Between Wildfire and Computo, I have a 1 in 3 chance, and those other chances I have invincibility. I can pick invincibility or impervious. Okay, how easy is it going to be to chunk through that? And oh yeah, I also have the options of picking up regen from these characters, not also excluding the entity I can put on him using Black Hand. Coming in at a whopping 225, Composite Superman, your new overlord and master. Okay, so I'm just being honest here. I'm just being honest here. How are you going to bust that +3? Because if someone says, man, I can't afford Super Scroll because he's $80 freaking on eBay, but I really think that this Lydia Mallard thing is valid, I can spend 30 because I am a low income person. I have this resource of my choice, which I've also spent a lot of money on, and I've won a Black Hand and he's cheap, and I got a Composite Superman. I have all of Slosh. I will wreck your face. I will wreck your face. And then some people might say, well, you could put Phantom Girl on there. Yes, you can put Phantom Girl on there, and I'm not going to discount that. And that would make him way more stupid than what he is. Because imagine Phantom Girl with super strength because of an entity. I'm just throwing out some ideas here, not necessarily saying it's theme. Phantom Girl with an entity, and now she has super strength. Now up her stats and put those stats on Composite Superman with an 11 attack and 4 damage, picking up an ultra heavy. I'm just saying. So there's that. So are you going to be able to have a theme team that's going to break +3 so that you can get over the fact that your opponent has a significant stat advantage over you and trying to get the stat advantage back into your favor? You can't. And then also weed out 15 other things. You can't. And so you have to pick your loss, or at least your stall, or the odds of which the one matchup that completely hoses you shows up. And when you're talking about a 150-man field, the odds of something that hoses you over will show up. I mean, it's not like, oh yeah, everybody's playing the same thing. And I'll just tell you from experience. About 70% of the field is playing the common meta. 30% of the field, and I would say 20% of the field is playing a variant of the common meta. It's that last 10% that plays that wily stuff. That's like, what the heck did you do? And some of it is that local, meta meth crack that they've been smoking, where they have that one guy that wins all the time telling them, yeah, man, I was listening to this podcast. I used Cheshire and Jaxer. But then, I thought, man, like, I just put 2 blind owls on there. And then I put a jinx, and then it does this thing, man. It's real awesome. Now, note, this isn't a slight at Clicks TV, but, that is their local meta, Kool-Aid. But somebody will listen to it, take that local meta Kool-Aid, completely ignore the skill level of Team Vegas players, and then try to change up some weird stuff and be like, yeah, man, I did this, man, and yeah. And they'll completely ignore why and how that it went down the way it went down. So, also, yeah, that Cheshire Jaxer, because they haven't announced retirement. That's some other stuff that can deal with that don't die tech. Okay, so, be up on that. Be up on it. So, let's sort of come back. Let's sort of come back. As the meta shifts and the thinking shifts, we realize that taking on most of this stuff in a solid one-on-one fight isn't there. Now, some people might say, hey, Dark Logos, what if I go in without a resource, period? You can, and if you decide to go with a special object, I hope you're able to pick that up real quick. Because if not, if you go with a special object, that sucker can be destroyed. That sucker can be destroyed, you have given points to your opponent. For free. Period. That's it. Okay? Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that. Because they'll be like, so you're telling me that I have to push myself and run a non-resource team. Dark Logos, you're crazy. No, I'm just telling you, realistically, the obvious paths of meta evolution. Because it's just like water rolling downhill on a sidewalk. It will take the path of least resistance. What makes a animal come out of nature that freaking mauls everything or dies very easily is that it didn't take that path of least resistance. It went another way, and in that path, it found some other deadly tool that no one else has. And that's your problem. That's your problem if you go down that typical meta thinking. I really don't. I really don't go down that typical meta path thinking. I can play it. And there's some moments where I love it. But mostly it's that, yeah, okay, I gotta push. I'm birthing something here. Okay. And then you look at it and it looks like a troll mixed with a hobbit, mixed with a transformer. And you're asking yourself, what the heck did I bring forth? But when it's able to be underground and dig and find magical rings and summon a freaking laser beam from its head and arms and able to summon Voltron when it screams, then you are like, oh my gosh, it's the most badass character ever. But most people don't get to that point. They like hanging out with Legolas. They like hanging out with, Luke Skywalker, and they like hanging out, with just, dang it. It's sort of funny. I was like, what's the robot? Yeah, Johnny Five or freaking Chappie. It's like, oh, they're cool. I built Chappie. Hey, I use the Force. I'm with Luke Skywalker. I'm shooting arrows. I'm Legolas. Yeah. But they don't understand. It's like, okay, if I give up Legolas's speed for his accuracy, if I gave up the use of the Force for the lightsaber, and if I was able to get the computing power but to give up the arsenal of Chappie, then what do I have? I got a freaking super accurate Master Jedi with robot parts. Technically, you have Grievous. Technically, you have Grievous without the asthma. And if anyone saw the animated Clone Wars before they did this 3D Clone Wars crap, then yeah, you'll know who I'm talking about. That Grievous, not the freaking stupid movie Grievous, the real Grievous. Anyway, so all right, so let's start wrapping things up. Now, note, there are some little pathways here that are available, and they are tough, and they are risky, and I think that's the one thing everybody is sort of noticing is it's not that the counters to this meta are not possible, it's the fact that the counters to this meta really cause anxiety in people that are risk averse, because you're not looking at 80% chance of wins for the stuff. You're talking about 60-70%, which for the average high level clicks player is heresy. It just doesn't work. They'll accept their losses, they'll accept that someone outplayed them or they beat them. Most high level clicks players will not accept the idea or fact that at the 30 at building a team, if you realize that you have a 30% chance loss, just period, most of them will not accept that ever. And so it's a tough ride. It's a real tough ride. Even when you have people like Goku who create this very awesome and beautiful Pog tech or Swarm tech, there's still a chance of like, yep, you know what? I just took this one thing that's really core to your team. Let's go. And you'd be like, well, what do I do? But there's a lot of risk involved. There's a lot of skill involved. There's a lot of practice involved. I mean, it's not just, hey guys, I play this figure, I win, or I play these figures, I win, or I have this super combo, punch you in the chest 5 times, now your head explodes and blood gushes out, and then I'm able to use your body as a puppet, using mechanic powers. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't, and there's people that I talk to, and not necessarily you, the listener, but there's people that I talk to at events or that I go and, just sit and listen to conversation or read on their message boards. And they're like, yeah, if I play these things, then I'm invincible. I have these things, so I'm invincible. The meta is awesome. You see how broke this guy is? And why they might understand, hey, this guy is really strong. They really don't understand that it's not a secret handshake that lets you into the awesome club. It doesn't work like that. So hopefully this episode is useful to everyone. You can start to see how the meta is shaping up, what that means to you, the player, what that means for the future of the game. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm making myself very vulnerable here. I want to run a Jenny team for Origins. I really do. I feel that it would scare the piss out of most of the Gluttony players. Building it is hard. I've been trying for the last week, and everything I've built is it's like almost when you're, if I can almost understand what it's like for a mother to hear from the doctor that your baby has complications, and then it pops out and it's like it's dead on arrival. I sort of got that 8 inches of that feeling, and so it's like, oh, okay, let me try again. Oh, let me try again. Oh, okay, it cried this time. It didn't come out dead. And so there's some things that I really want to try to do It's just that with most of the problems that I have, it's just that if you ever just go into a straight up fight, you lose. Like against all the quirky crap, yeah, it's like 60-70% win ratio. But when you start dealing with a straight on standard team fight, you just lose. So anyway, I'm working on it. It may not be what I play, but I do think that with some things that I have in store, I have like 2 to 3 teams right now that if I can get them going, or if they work, they won't change the meta, but it will make them freaking laugh for a good while. So anyway, that's today's show. Shout outs to a couple people. Shout outs to Majestics. You all are right now holding my Padawan. Well, he's a Jedi Knight. I'll upgrade him to Jedi Knight. Treat him well, because the Sith Lord is watching. Okay. So shout outs to Patrick and all the Apex Predators. And Wes, who is out in California. Big shout outs to Dial H. Because they hype me up. So, I give them credit. They hype me up. So, also, I'm listening to some 2 Clicks to KO. 2 Clicks from KO is Aaron Cantu's podcast. You can find it on Podbean. You can Google it, but definitely check that out. He occasionally has like a co-host on there, and they do a really good job of meta breakdown, and they give you some solid analysis. I would definitely say that they're my if you don't agree with what I say, they're a good solid second opinion on the meta. And then Clicks TV. I listen to it, but man, that music, oh gosh, the music, it hurts my head. But if you like that trippy Vegas, leaving Las Vegas music, then go ahead. But the analysis is good. They have solid competitive experience. One thing that is interesting, I will say, is they have more of like a new school thought process. Like, I'm old school. I've been playing this game for almost 10 years now. And so I've seen everything in scope. Like, I sometimes you look at things like in a very wide lens because you live through it. And I'm like, we saw this before in the past, and then they might be like hotness and do really well with it. And for me, I'm like, okay, maybe did come back, but I see this new thing that, I like poke with a stick. It's like, maybe that will be something. So I have like the old man view on heroclix. And they have like the new kids view of heroclix. Except I think the moderator, he's been playing almost as long as I have. So yeah, definitely check those shows out if you haven't already. And I definitely would say you're going to get a lot of analysis from them. The one thing I will say is this: take everything with a grain of salt in the next few weeks and start looking at this. Look at what we all are not talking about. And that's the best I can tell you. Look at the mechanics we all are not talking about. And that is the secret to victory. And I'm betting you that's your better chance of figuring out what's going to be at Origins. Or at least possibly win it. So, all right, that's it. You can follow me on Twitter. It came from outer space. And it told me, man, the sky grew black as the night. And the child of tech lore came and bestowed upon you the ancient tome of heroclixdom. What do you do with it from this point on is on you. You can check my random musings and some of my thoughts out there on life in general. I almost got close to like tweeting, like, yep, just broke up with this girl I was seeing, but that didn't quite hit. I didn't think that was quite Twitter worthy. Yeah, so you also can find out when a new show is up. So that's also a huge thing. You can hit the subscribe button. It helps me boost my ratings on the YouTubes. Hit that like button, all that other cool stuff. You can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it piffy, keep it interesting. Tell me about your thoughts on today's show and about the way the meta is going. I will be honest. I was a person that said, hey, and you can go back and check my records. I was a person that said, hey, we need strong shenanigan and defensive options in the game. And when the strong shenanigan and defensive options came in the game, I was like, this is BS. So I don't really know. I really don't know where the future of heroclix should be going. And so I'll be the first to admit that. Mea culpa on me. Also, if you want training from me to become a better heroclix player, let me know. You can email me at the startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. The main thing is because my work schedule is 8:30 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. It would probably be after 5:15, 5:30 Central Standard Time during the week that I would be able to coach. I really can't coach early in the morning, just because of the way life is. And then on Saturday, I work at Target still because brother got student loans, and I still haven't gotten that first bit of new job money. That first check, that's gonna be awesome. That from the new job gonna be awesome because that Target check sort of fell off this week when I got it. Because it's not a full 2-week check. So, whoo, man, let's just say I'm looking forward to that end of the month. Really looking forward to that end of the month. What else? Yeah, you can check out the blog to donate to the show, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. The buy lists are on there, and if any other stuff that's worth writing in depth, I'll put that on there. If anybody wants me to request, like, to write something down in depth, let me know, and I'll just do it as a blog post. No payment, no anything like that. Just let me know, and I'll write that up. Okay. Also, shout outs to Jake. He wants me to do a show in which I go step by step about breaking down team building. So that might be the next show. It might not be, but it might come. Shirts are still working on that. You know, life is crazy. Life is just crazy. So I need to stop getting excuses and stuff. I know. All right. That's it. Check y'all later. And remember, we all had to start over sometime.